Natasha.
And Khalil.
We are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 71st episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything that's important to us, to you, the world, and nothing is off the table. Now, in this episode, we're talking all about whether fairness really exists. Very interesting, guys. But before we dive deep into the subject, a couple of questions to ask you. First, have you subscribed to WokeNFree on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio? We are on over 22 different platforms, guys. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to WokeNFree.com and please subscribe away. Next, have you shared an episode with friends or family? If not, hey, I think it'd be a bit unfair for you not to share this episode, so please do. We would greatly appreciate your support of the show. And next, if you haven't talked to us on social media and you're interested in diving into a conversation, sharing tidbits, all of that good stuff, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at WokeNFree, and you can also hit us up on YouTube at WokeNFree. Lastly, if you'd like to review the show, we'd love to get your feedback on the episodes, guys. Please do so on any of the platforms of your choice. Go to WokeNFree.com and you can pick to review us on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, or any of the other platforms. We greatly appreciate your support.
In the new year, we like to share a little bit about us before we dive into the topic for the episode. Last week we shared, are you a morning person or a night owl? This week we're sharing, would you rather give up your favorite food or candy for a year?
Really, Khalil?
This is from your book, actually, that you gave me.
Well, okay, then I'll take it.
I'm going through these. There's 2,000 questions, right?
All right, cool. Yes. Happy New Year, everyone.
That'll be good.
Okay, so favorite food or candy for a year? So, I mean, I guess because the question is too vague and I'm not quite sure, like, how much candy and all of that, and is it forever or, like, whatever, or for a year. So, I would probably say... I mean, I don't have that much candy, but I still wouldn't want to give it up. So I would keep it. I would just give up my favorite food, which...
So then you can only have American food.
Oh, so yeah, no Caribbean food.
Yep.
But for a year, that's fine. Yeah, I can do that.
Wow. Okay, you give up the Caribbean food for a year.
For candy, yes.
Wow, that's good to know.
I love sugar.
All right. You have a sweet tooth then.
Always. I have a lot of cavities too.
Nice.
And your choice?
I definitely would give up candy in a heartbeat because the foods is what counts. That's what gets you that nourishment. Like, there's some good food, so that's crazy to me. Like, I would hate to give up my favorite food.
But we're technically,
I don't care about
shout
candy.
out to Healthy Meals Direct. We're currently meal planning, so it's not like we really even are supposed to have, like, other food.
It's a hypothetical question.
I thought you wanted to apply it to our, like, current day life, though.
But I'm saying, if this actually happened tomorrow, if you were given these two choices,
I can't eat Caribbean food anyway because I'm on my meal plan. So it's like
no. But if you're given the hypothetical, you only have favorite food or candy.
Well, I'm not eating. Like, my point is, I'm not currently eating favorite food, but I.
So you already gave it up. You're saying?
Well, it's not that I gave it up, but we're just currently on a meal plan, so I'm not having it. So
I mean, you will have it at some point, though. It's not like
not
this
for
year.
A while.
It's not like. But imagine if this year you're not going to have it any time this year. You can't have it anytime. But I'll still have candy. So you rather? Yeah, I would definitely not do that. I'd rather have my favorite food.
No, because I'm not going to hold out for 8 months. Because the next time we have Caribbean food,
because I can give up.
Could be like 8 months from now. Like versus, I could have candy for today, tomorrow.
Yeah, I can. No. I don't need candy. I mean, it's all right. I can give it up.
You know you like it too.
No, but I don't have an obsession with it. I can give it up in a heartbeat. It's not a big thing. Now, the favorite food, you get me with that though. Like that's harder to say.
Mac and cheese.
Well, that'd be one of them, but like omelets, stuff like that, bacon.
Yeah. See, because
I don't want to give all. I wouldn't want to give that up.
After my like hypothyroidism, there's like so many stuff that like gives me like eating issues. So it's like I've already given up so much of my favorite food.
So for you, it's easier, I guess. Yeah. So
it's already devastation. Yeah. So it's fine. But
But mine, yeah, definitely.
That's a depressing question, but good one though. Good.
It's exciting. And now we're gonna jump into the topic for the episode. And I'll ask the first question, which is to discuss whether fairness really exists. Let's talk about what fairness actually is.
All right, yeah. So I thought that, that to me makes sense. And actually, Psychology Today has like 3 different theories as to how they break out what fairness is. First, sameness. So there is the fairness where everything is equal. So everyone pays the same price for a theater ticket, whether a child, adult, or senior. No one has more than and another, everyone eats or no one eats. For example, logically, then an infant and an adolescent would receive the same amount of food. It doesn't matter that one needs more than the other. Fairness is finding the average and applying it across the board. This is fairness as equality of outcome. Then another theory of fairness comes under deservedness. And in this notion, you get what you deserve. So if you work hard, you succeed and keep all that you earn. Fairness means keeping what you deserve and deserving nothing if it isn't earned. The hardest working, most diligent, smartest, and most talented should have more because of their attributes. The lazy, indifferent, stupid. This is from Psychology Today, guys. I ain't calling nobody stupid.
This wasn't from the Oval Office?
I'm not even going there. Stupid and that deserve to have less. Fairness is a rational calculation. This is fairness as an individual freedom. Then the third theory of fairness would be to those who have more to give should give a greater percentage of what they have to help others who are unable to contribute much, if anything at all. Fairness here takes into account the facts that humans have obligations to one another, and the more one has, the more is demanded of that person to contribute to the common good. So fairness...
It's a socialist belief.
Yeah, so it's interesting that they broke it out this way. Fairness and responsibility are linked. Compassion plays a role in the calculation of fairness. This is fairness as social justice. So I personally thought, I thought it was actually, if you really think about the concept, it is very kind of abstract, and it depends on what perspective you're thinking, right? Because as a Black female who is born and raised in America with a Caribbean heritage, there's a certain narrative that I have and I think about when it comes to fairness and hardworking. So I appreciate that they broke it down. Which of those 3 I agree with the most? Personally, I think number 2, right? If you work the hardest, then you should be given that, but that's currently not, neither of these 3 always apply at all times. So, but that's the type of fairness I would go under. But how would you define it?
I definitely like the number 2, the deservedness. I think that's an American notion, actually. That's what this land
but
was
it doesn't apply
supposed to stand for. Not that it applies fully, but that's supposed to be that's what the goal is, right? That's what USA wants to be. They want to be a land where it is fair. The harder you work, the more you can get. That's what it's supposed to be. And I actually looked at Merriam-Webster. They had a couple definitions, but I just looked at the second definition, which is another way I think of fairness, and that's the lack of favoritism towards one side or another. And that to me is that's like a neat way to put fairness, like one side of it, because it's saying that you're going to treat, if you have 2 people, you're going to treat them the same. You're not going to say, I prefer you over the other, which doesn't happen in this world. There's, that's not actually practical, but that would actually be fairness, where 2 things aren't treated differently. You're not saying I like this more than the other.
I mean, the paradox with fairness is that unfortunately we don't all come out the same. So to take a kind of a one fit all application to all of us in and of itself is unfair because we're all different, right?
Yeah,
that's the kicker with fairness, because how can you be fair to all when all are different from each and every one of us? So, it's kind of like fairness objectively seems impossible in application. And I guess that leads me. Well, yeah. What were you gonna say?
Well, I mean, you can do it in.
It's gonna be unfair
on the theory level, but you could do it on a theory level. But the problem is even biologically we're not the same.
Yeah,
so
we're not the same.
Just based on that, you're done. I mean,
people
there.
People with different abilities, people with different intelligence levels,
some people
with
have
different
better
emotional abilities. I mean,
some people have better hearing. Some people can smell better. It gets tough. Then you're gonna say, you know what? I'm not gonna look at your better ability. I'm just gonna say you're the same anyway.
I mean, I think
that makes it hard.
I think you have to actually move away from fairness and go to a conversation of resources. So, So essentially my next question would be like, is life fair based on that conversation?
And I love this because, I want to catch you because you love to do this to
logic.
me.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
this is not even a logic. This is I'm going to use your own ammo against you.
It depends on how you define fair and how you define life. I completely concur with that assessment. Like, that makes sense to me.
You can't try it now. That's what
I don't know why that tickles you so much, Khalil.
Yeah,
it's a complete legitimate question. How do you define life? How do you define fairness?
You try to use these special definitions, like some people don't say 0 + 0 is 0. Some people think it's infinity because that's how they define it.
Like,
they think of 0 + 0 as infinity because it can go on and on and on of nothingness. I mean, we can just make up things that we want.
But is that not true? I mean, I cannot tell a lie, guys. Like, answer the question.
But yeah, as long as you define it as previous, like what mine said, I would say that life itself, which is just life, not the people within it, within it.
Okay, you're
I would say
it that way.
I would say that points to yes. Like, life gave you certain challenges meant for you. That's what I say. It didn't favor you. It didn't favor specific people and say you're gonna have this kind of life, which you deserve compared to this other person. Life gave you what was meant for you. I don't believe in destiny, but I believe that the challenges you have, you're meant to have, and that's why I think life is fair. Not in the sense that we're all given the same thing and treated equally and all that, but we're all given specific challenges that we can all overcome. That's what I think. I think it's actually possible to overcome.
Some people are destined to die, or some people are destined to not overcome their challenges.
That was their choice, yeah. I believe in this. That's the secret at play.
Okay.
But that's something I know. Some people would get mad at that, but yeah, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating. For me, I respectfully disagree. I
Whoa.
think that life is not fair because, again, it goes back to my previous statement about resources. People are not treated the same, right? Two people with same background but different career. Like, if they're going for a job interview and one is one race and one is one gender, right? Like, we're not all treated the same, and we don't all have access to the same resources. So that's why ultimately I don't believe life is fair. And I found a really fun quote by Dennis Holy, who says, expecting the world to treat you fairly because you are a good person is a little like expecting the bull not to attack you because you're a vegetarian. Like, I think that speaks very well to my point, which is the idea that if you expect life to be fair, you're kind of living in a delusional bubble. And that's where I stand on that.
All right. That's an interesting take. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But we gotta ask then, should fairness actually exist?
Given that we all currently live in an unfair world, according to me, everyone is entitled to their own opinion and point of view on the subject, but I would say, yes, I think fairness should exist. I think it would be fascinating to live in a world where, again, resources were divided equally. People had the same equal footing, and then we could all prove where we're supposed to be, right? How many more Michael Jordans would there be? How many more Gary Vaynerchuks would there be? How many more Mark Zuckerbergs would there be if everyone had the same resources and the same schooling and the same chance to make something out of their lives? But because we don't, and I understand how idealistic and naive that sounds in nature, but I would be curious to see what that is, because I just think that there's certain people who enjoy being at the top, and I think that they consistently want to have life continue that way, where there's the have and the have-nots, and I think that it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, the idea of people having to have different resources and then competing amongst people they normally wouldn't compete against.
But who's going to lift those people up to that super level that they get to? Some may argue that
some still will reach that. There still would be a Warren Buffett. There still would be a Tony Robbins.
Some argue that they couldn't exist in that type of idealistic world.
But see,
because nothing would push them to do that.
But how would we ever know until
especially
we try?
Like a Tony Robbins? Why do you need Tony Robbins if everybody's given equal chances? Wouldn't there be less people that are going to be in poverty because now they actually have a way to get out of it really easily?
Poverty because all resources would
so look, poverty
equally,
goes away, and then educational
distribution. Everyone that if you are in Africa, if you are in
educational
Australia,
disparities go away.
yeah, all across the board.
So,
we all
if
get
you get
the
rid of these
same.
disparities, though, then you're going to get rid of, like, I think you're going to get rid of certain mental issues that people have as well. I think that would go down as well. I think some people would be more satisfied with life.
Better world, yeah. I think people would be happier, and
people
I think
be
people
happier.
would stop. We would stop crime, right?
But
people
would you be more?
deprivation.
But remember, if you're happy, what pushes you to like excel and do better?
Well, the
if
thing
you're so
is,
happy,
I just think that
that's what they question.
I think we're limited in how
know.
we could assess this situation because we just don't
It is
have
a
the
limitation.
context. We don't,
That's
you know,
true.
because I think people go to the negative, like, well, if
people
everything's
say,
so
yeah.
good, what's like, there's a problem with goodness. No, there isn't a problem with goodness. There's a problem with you enjoying badness. Like, that's really what's happening, and people need to own their own form of negativity there.
Or is it the contrast that pushes you to do different things?
But the thing is, it's interesting how people's minds work in the sense that, like, just because people have more, it automatically turns to, I have less. If everyone has equal footing, how far you go is still up to that person. Just because Tony Robbins would have had more resources wouldn't have prevented him from still being a superstar. That would have been up to him.
But I'm saying
does he not have the drive? I don't know if you would not have the drive just because more people have more. I mean,
he might not have the need to be Tony Robbins because people are
maybe
more
there
happy
isn't a
with
need
what they
for
are.
people to be superstars then, right?
See,
like
now you're taking away that, and now people are
I'm
scared.
not, but I'm not taking it away. What I'm saying
I mean,
is,
it's possible though.
if you want to be a superstar in this world or that world, that's up to the person, right? Everyone having more doesn't detract from you. I think people have to get out of their negative state of being.
That's the key.
I mean, I would want to be who I am, regardless of how well everyone else is doing. I don't know why that deprivation always becomes like I don't know. There's enough. It's a whole thing. There's enough pie in the sky for everyone. A lot of people don't believe that, but it's really true. I mean, that's the secret. The secret doesn't say only 1% of people can succeed. The secret says everyone can succeed, but not everyone wants to, and that's the kicker.
If you want to talk about practicality in terms of there's people that are born with certain, like if you're thinking biologically, are you like how are you going to make it fair for them? Are you saying that we're all going to be born with the same abilities?
No, I'm just saying everyone has the same resources. Our individual talents.
Oh, okay, so we have access to the same stuff.
Talents, but I'm just saying, hey, what if we could have
nobody
the same
has access
schooling?
to secret knowledge and stuff like
none
that?
of that. Like, there's no.
It's equal footing. Everybody can get the same amount of education.
All the kids who got to go to Stanford and Yale, and
you can take coding classes at 3 years old.
Everyone could learn Mandarin. Everyone could. That's all I'm saying. Resources. Divide the resources.
Oh, okay.
And where people lie is where people lie.
All right, so you're just saying resources. I think that would be. There's nothing wrong with that.
But there's some people, the haves, who.
But yeah, some are scared of that.
Uncomfortable with that idea and that notion. They would do everything they can to block it. That's why we don't live in a world that has.
Because they think that could actually disrupt their life.
Their money away.
Because now other people will know how to bring themselves up. Yeah, there are definitely people who are scared of that education.
It would be challenging, right? Because who's going to be the nannies? Who's going to be if all of those people technically still have access to resources?
This is what's great. What happens? All these minds put together. Now you can make the nannies with the robots. Let them do it.
I think personally,
a lot of those jobs we don't need anymore.
It would be a better world, personally. If everyone had the same resources, I agree on
the resources thing.
I think individual talents are individual talents. You can't take that away.
But I'm not going to say like what it's because I thought you were saying like to put everybody on equal footing. I mean, if somebody was like if they were less able than the average person, we're going to give them extra stuff to really help them come up to the level of everyone else. They have to figure that out on their own. Right?
Everyone has to figure out how.
You got to figure out how to do it.
Because guess what? There still will be drug addicts. There still
will be
people who want to commit crime. There's still people who want to just philander and cheat on their spouses. Like those people
cheat on their spouses.
I mean,
what does that have to do with fairness, though?
Because I'm just saying that
some people feel like that's unfair, right?
In life. Well, yeah.
They say,
some people do think that's unfair that happens.
They say, why does my spouse cheat and yours doesn't? That is unfair. But those are up to...
Or people who are single and want to be married, right? Like, all of those situations would still exist. All I'm suggesting is the biggest inequity that I struggle with is from that educational and financial. But again, you can't distribute every other
So what it would
money.
be is that
so at least just education.
Everybody has the same...
learn the same way. way, and then from there you make what you make of that.
So you don't know if that includes universal health care or any of that stuff.
I mean, I think
it's probably gonna have to,
resources
right?
should include
Or it's not
education,
fair, then.
health, and government access. I mean, I think that those should
government
be
access. What does that
like
mean?
meaning like some people have more skew over governmental things than others, and I think that that's nonsense. Like we don't talk about it, but that's a house. It's like a house
I don't
of cards
jump into that one. But
like
here's what I'll give you.
When some people just have bills passed and have ordinances. Everybody has the same access to government.
That's a tricky thing to a tricky thing to tackle. But let's go with education.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with food.
Yes.
We're gonna go with
lodging.
It doesn't have to be the same housing, but everybody has to have some housing.
House. I mean,
you have a housing.
That crazy.
And I say everybody has access to the internet.
Yeah, that's a resource. It's light. It's the same thing as light. I mean. Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
I think that's fair. I think that you can't.
Hopefully, health. There should be a minimum. There should be a minimum bottom line healthcare access thing. There should be something. Yeah, I mean, keep you going.
But,
all right.
Yeah.
Now, what are the best ways to deal with the lack of fairness in life?
So I have a couple of recommendations, as per usual, guys. You know I'm long-winded.
Oh, really?
So, yep.
I don't believe you.
Listen. So first, accept the rules of engagement. I think that in life. Just because you look around and you see inequity or you see unfairness, I don't think it's, you can't wave your white flag or give up, right? Like, me done, me don't want no more. Like, no, that's not appropriate. We still have to make whatever we can out of this life. And if you want an incredible life, then it's up to you to make it. So just because you deal with unfairness, hey, I've dealt with unfairness. Everybody's dealing with unfairness. So in some form or way, we all are dealing with a level of this. It's not the same. That's definitely not the same, because the people in third world countries' unfairness is not the same as American. I just want to make that clear. That unfairness is not equal across the board, but we all experience a form of it. And you just have to accept the rules of engagement. Next, decide if you want to be the problem or the solution. So what I mean by that is when we are in a position in life, and I'm really hoping you are listening right now, if you are in a position of power where you can help someone or you can stand in someone's way, who do you want to be, right? What decision do you want to make, and what are the consequences for whatever you choose? Think about that, guys, because that's where the bitching and the moaning come in, and I find it very frustrating where people can choose to be the problem or the solution, and they choose the wrong choice. Next, don't use the facts of we live in an unfair world to be an excuse. Again, if you choose to be a drug addict, if you choose to be a philandering, cheating spouse person, if you choose, I get very angry about that.
Yeah.
If you choose, just because a marriage is sanctitude and it's a contract, and keep to your obligations, guys. It's not nice. Also, if you choose to just give up on life, don't use that as an excuse, because it's super easy to blame others and it's super hard to see where you have faltered in this journey. So that's not an excuse. And then also just don't give up. I think unfairness is unfair, right? It sucks, but you can still overpass this. You can see past the season, you can see past the challenge, and you have to keep moving forward. Those are my tips.
All right. I like those, and I'll add some that I found from Psychology Today, actually.
Woohoo!
What they stated 3 points in this article. The first one was become aware of what your brain is doing. So you got to just kind of be conscious of how you're taking in the situation. Think about it. Yeah. And the second one was determine if your loss is real or not. Are you really, is something really bad happening here, or is it just in your mind again? You got to kind of look at the situation and figure out what's really going on here. Maybe you got to do some deeper analysis. The last one they put is choose to be healthy instead of right. I like that one.
Oh, that's interesting too. I really love Psychology Today.
That's
I think it's
a
really
one.
wonderard resource.
That one is
Shout
a good
out
one.
to
That
them.
could mean so much.
Oh yeah.
There's so many ways to take that. I mean.
Well, yeah. They say that all the time. Do you want to be, even with your spouse? Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? I think...
not with the spouse. It's specific. It's happy life, happy wife.
Oh, but there's also a phrase when speaking to your spouse.
You want to be happy,
do you want to be
happy
right? Or do you want to be right?
That one too.
I think if men are smart, they'll choose the right decision and they'll just be happy
instead of left.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, WokeNFree Nation, if you're listening and you have some great tips on how to deal with inequity or unfairness and you want to share, please put in the comments, what have you been doing to deal with this in your life? Because guess what? We're all dealing with some level of unfairness, if not on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, monthly, quarterly, however you want to see it. So share your thoughts. Let's motivate and champion each other. Now, if we could, flip a switch or snap our fingers and make the world a fair place, what would this world look like?
I think definitely less problems in the world would be one. But a side effect of that, it could be more bland. It could be kind of like a dystopia world, like Divergent, the book and the movie series.
Get out of the
Everybody's into a faction.
in your head, man.
But look at that. That tried to divide people up into certain factions.
That was nothing about fairness.
Yeah, it was, because everybody was given a chance. You got to actually choose what you wanted to be in.
But they didn't all have the same resources.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I've never seen anything depict.
You said they didn't have the same resource.
No,
well, I mean, they were different factions.
And then there was the faction less. So,
what that said is you weren't able. That was like your number 2 from Psychology Today. You weren't able to work hard enough, so you got left behind.
Or you gave up, and then no one cares for you, and then you're homeless. See, that's what I'm saying.
It's fair, but I mean, it's kind of like it's fair, but if you fail the test, you're done. That's what they basically did. I mean, I don't know.
Remember, factionless, they could have gone into their faction and then gave up and left.
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
You could leave too.
Just the test.
No, yeah, but I mean, yeah, you can leave too, but that's on you though. Leaving, I mean,
check out Divergent series, guys, if you don't know what we're talking about. But
that's just one look though. They gave them choices.
With blandness though, that's
yeah, that's what I feel. I was thinking of like absolute fairness where even biologically people start off the same. I wasn't thinking of like what we just talked about in
Gattaca,
terms of the resources.
Right?
Yeah, if we were Gattaca and all started off with the same exact things and same exact like chances and abilities,
then we'd be kind of robots.
Then I think we'd be bland, but then it'd be easy to say life's pretty fair because that would be easy to give everybody the same exact resources almost. Mm-hmm. And Matrix, that's easy to do. You don't even have to. You're not even in a real world. You're created reality. That's really simple. But I was just thinking about just like a dystopian world. That's what I kind of think of when you think of absolute fairness.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, that's what I came up with.
Personally, I argue for it. I'm a proponent of it because, the counter is our current day existence. And guys, I don't think the majority of people, if you were to poll most people on this planet, I don't believe they're going to be like, I'm happy. Life couldn't be better. I have no problems. Like, I really don't think the average person is particularly happy or satisfied in their life. And I think a big part of that comes to inequity. It comes to lack of resource, lack of money, lack of self-love, lack of self-care, lack of friends, lack. It's just lacking. People are lacking and they're deficient. And so what if we could do something about that? You can't do everything about it because
not all those things you can tackle.
But if we all had access to the same resources, right? There's some people who are dying literally because they can't afford healthcare. Now they have healthcare. Now they can live. What kind of life would they live, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the kid who wanted to be an engineer, but his parents pulled him out of school, and now he
had to pay the mortgage.
Yeah, and now he's gone off and is living a life of crime, right? What would he have done different? Could he have been the new Henry Ford, right? Like, there's all these opportunities and paths of life that have been changed literally due to lack of resources. So, what would it be? I think it'd be a better life. I think there would be more prosperity, wealth, joy amongst masses. And I would be fascinated to be, A, a part of that change, but B, just to be privy to see that because the sadness is overwhelming. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the people at top are not going to let that happen. So I'm not charged to go on that journey of making that happen.
Years.
Yeah.
5,000 years will be closer.
I can do
a little more
a little bit of my change in my lifetime, but I don't think that. Yeah, on a whole, you're changing like economy. Like it's anti-American, really. Like people
once we
can't handle that.
Once we get more down to like a factory line system where even services can be done by not humans, then I think we're gonna have to change the whole system's gonna be changed.
Yeah.
I don't know if in our lifetime, but eventually it will be. Like, these jobs that we hold are not going to be the same. We're not going to be able to hold the same type of jobs that people currently do. That's already happening. People are being replaced by bots. So I think once enough jobs are replaced, we're going to have to figure out a different sort of system than what we're doing now.
I just hope that people of power can think about it. If you're listening to this and you have a position where you can give resources to the masses, just like think about it. Consider the option, because I just think that, I think to me it hurts. It hurts to wake up knowing that there are people suffering unnecessarily, and that's what it is. It's literal suffering. There are people in this country, I'm not even talking about like Africa or like other
just
parts,
keep it to this
in
first
this
world country.
Like, there are people who are starving, children wake up without food. I just think that that's deplorable and that's disgusting. And it's like, and especially children, like, they're the future of our country and our world. I don't understand why people don't give a damn. Like, why are we making children if we're not taking care of them?
No, we are, but some remember, did we have an episode about are people equal or no? Or maybe we didn't. Maybe we touched on that on.
We might have touched on it, but yeah.
But that's the whole thing. But what I was gonna say, everybody's not valued. Everybody's not valued the same. Some children are worth more than others.
But that's not fair.
And people will not even say that, but it's obvious, and it's obvious in what happens in our world.
All children
it's obvious.
They need to be cared for. They're children. I mean,
you would think so, because then you would make the bottom line. If you're a child, you can't be homeless. Like,
come on, man. Like, they're children. They're like little.
I mean, I don't know.
For us.
Maybe legally, I think legally though, like the CPS, or they can take away a child who's with a homeless person.
Department,
I think, but how can they actually how could you actually put that into?
The foster care system is very troubled and challenged.
And then then you get into the problem: is housing actually safe?
Yeah,
so they're still not kept safe. So they're still not treated fairly, even when they do get housing and food. See, that's what I'm saying.
I pray. I mean, I pray for change, because
not all children are treated the same.
We wake up and there are people suffering, and it hurts. I don't know if other people, if you experience that as well, I'd love to know what concerns you. But to me, that's like the biggest gripe for me. Children suffering in this country, to me, it seems really like cruel and unusual punishment to me.
And that pretty much means you do think some people are dealing with more unfairness than others. That's what you would say.
I believe marginalized people deal with it as a woman, I was just explaining to you today that people
obvious.
Speak to me in a way that they would not speak to me if I was a man, right? And I don't understand why I need to have a penis to have levels of respect. I think it's disgusting that people do that. So at marginalized people, so I'm talking about whether it's race, gender, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, any type of marginalization, those people are treated unfairly on a fairly uncommon basis, and it's bull.
Yeah, I think definitely there's definitely people that are treated that have more unfairness than others. It's not equalized across the board. We all have unfairness, but there's levels to it.
It's not equal, but it's different.
There's levels to it. Like, there really is. And we're gonna get into some interesting ones soon. Mm-hmm. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time, guys. Scenario 1. Mackenzie received everything she asked for in life. One time, a sales clerk told her they were out of stock of the newest Jimmy Choos, so she could not have it. Mackenzie didn't understand and kept asking why she could not have them. Is life being unfair to Mackenzie because she was not able to have the latest fashion trend, even though her parents could afford it?
You're funny, Khalil. You're really funny.
This is a truly devastating situation.
You're full of it. You really are.
What? This happens in life. This happens. You want to get those latest pair of shoes and they're gone.
Oh, Becky.
Everybody else got
Becky.
it. But they're sneakerheads. They want to get those latest pair of fresh kicks, and they just don't get it.
Jimmy Choos, yes.
Very important. She only has 500 others. I mean, these are like new ones that came out.
So you're speaking to entitlement in this.
Oh, is that what that is? Oh, is that what that'd be called?
Yes. So,
what would you say though?
Is it unfair that Mackenzie could not get these shoes that she really wanted at this moment in her life? I think you could argue it depends on how you define fairness. It depends on the scenario, but I could see an argument for both. I think yes, in the sense of if you really want something and it's not available, it does feel a bit unfair to you. Is her unfairness comparable to other people's? unfairness and whatever they're dealing with, I think that's a separate conversation.
Well, see,
right?
that's different.
But I think in this moment, does she have the right to feel like life is being unfair? Yeah, I mean, everyone has a right to feel anything they want.
Definitely,
whether it's justifiable or not is a different. That's a different conversation.
But
does she have the right to feel like life's unfair? Absolutely. I have the right to feel like I'm a unicorn. I mean, it's whatever I want and whatever she wants. So have at it, Mackenzie. Send them a very strongly worded text message. And your answer?
Let's see. I think, yeah, definitely. Because in this case, these are Jimmy Choo's, but think about it.
Those are fabulous, yes.
There's a lot of cases where we want something and we're not able to get it, and we feel like that's definitely unfair.
Yes, absolutely.
Like when the last beef patty is gone from a
this
place.
Is like it's a first world issue for sure.
It's definitely first world issues, but I think a lot of us have run into that situation.
Absolutely.
Where it's that last item's not there, and you're like, hey, why didn't I get it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you really think about it, though, if you really get deep, you probably didn't need it.
But again,
it wasn't like a life-threatening thing.
You can't compare sadness or unfairness amongst others because, someone else who couldn't eat for the day is not a comparable point of reference. But for Mackenzie in her life in that moment, absolutely, I completely could understand how she could feel like things are unfair. But thankfully for her, she lives in America and she can go around and try to find a store who finds it, or go to England, or go to Australia. Someone's got to have it.
She'll probably just buy it off of eBay.
Maybe, but I don't know if Mackenzie does, or maybe her maid or someone.
Someone will find it brand new off of eBay. Well, she won't find it.
I'm not too concerned for baby.
But she'll got her personal shopper will take care of that.
Absolutely, or so stylist. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Scenario 2. Kandaki grew up an orphan. She was never told what happened to her parents, but was so glad when she was finally adopted. Once she turned 18, she told her adopted parents she wanted to find out more about her birth parents. Is it fair that Kandaki asked this when she had the gift of new parents?
The gift of new parents. Interesting phrasing, Khalil. This is a thing that is a pet peeve for you, which is
why is it a pet peeve for me? Why is it not just a scenario? Why does it come down to personal
you're
stuff?
A biased fool.
I don't like this. I want these scenarios to be unbiased in nature.
Then maybe you should write them that way.
Oh,
1-2 point.
I can't believe that. I can't believe you did that to me.
So first of all, I think Kandaki, or anyone who is dealing with being an orphan, is a very challenging situation. I think there's a certain level of sensitivity that needs to be provided for people who are adopted or orphaned and things like that. And just because she's interested in understanding her biological relations with her family who's no longer with her doesn't underwrite or undermine her current relationship with her parents. So I think that that's something you struggle with understanding, but I urge everyone listening to really think about the fact that people have a right to know where they come from, right? And it doesn't undermine the idea of someone else who cared for you or loves you now. But if you want to know your history, you have a right to know your history. And I think that that's not unreasonable to ask for. And I think that it's a little unfair to tell someone just because you were adopted or just because other people raise you that you can't understand your kin. I think that that to me seems like an unfair request of that person.
I think this is selfish of Kandaki to ask her parents.
Yeah, that's how you typically respond. Yep.
But
I don't think you're understanding, because if you put yourself in those shoes,
done so much
you would want. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that she doesn't have a right. Yes, you would. Anyone naturally wants to know their kin. It's a natural thing. If you are not with your kin, you want to know your kin. It's just a natural, I don't know, it's a natural urge. Everyone who's told me this, who was adopted or they all have said it over and over and over again. You want to know your natural history. Doesn't mean you don't love the history you have, but it means why, who is my mother? Who is my father?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't like to look in history like that, so.
Yes. Absolutely.
You like to look in history?
I just think I think because I'm a
know.
very empathetic person, it's just easier for me to understand the conversation. Because
Yeah, maybe it's hard for me.
even myself, for growing up how I did, I don't necessarily know I don't think I have a full understanding of my family history, and it makes me sad and it makes me curious. And I'm like, I know my kin, but it's like there's so much of my kin that I don't know, and I think that to me it's always it's going to be a ongoing question because I don't have reasonable relatives, so they're just not going to answer my questions. They're just going to, throw oxtail at me. So, like, I understand the desire to want to know your history. Because also I go and I'll have doctor's appointments and people ask me all these crazy questions and I don't have the answers to them because I don't know my own kin.
I just like to say, I don't know, and then I look at them. And we just keep looking at each other. I don't know. Let's keep going. Let's keep it moving. That's what I'll say. But let's go on then. Scenario 3. Zainab came to America from Sudan when she was a young child. She and her best friend Gail grew up middle class and both knew they would be reporters. They both applied for the same job, which asked for their birth country. Unfortunately, Zainab didn't get the job. Is this unfair?
Oh, so you're doing an immigration racism situation. Cool.
Is that what I'm doing? Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
Look at that.
Because Sudan, America has issues, right? Yeah. Smart. Okay. Good
Oh,
one.
man.
Good one. You just gotta classify things. Call a spade a spade.
Wow.
Like,
look at you being a scientist trying to box up this situation.
Yeah, let's just keep it real. Like 100%.
Oh, man.
Okay, so yeah, that's bull. And but then
that's bull.
but there's always follow-up questions, right? Is it unfair because they both have a middle class background, they wanted to be reporters, but were they both great writers? Were they both resourceful? Were they both great in the interview, right? Like there's so many other factors that play a role into whether or not you get hired or not, right? Did what's her name? Gail, did she have an inner connection? Was there nepotism at play?
No,
right?
that's at play here, yeah.
Okay, so that's if there's no nepotism and they're both strangers to the company, and it literally just comes down to you're American and the other one is not, then yeah, that's straight bull that currently a lot of people are dealing with. And it is unfair, but what's her name? Zainab needs to, I don't even think you're saying it right, but Ms. Z needs to find another alternative source of employment and keep it moving, and hopefully not hold a grudge against Gail, but it's got to be what it's got to be. Your thoughts?
So you say it is unfair then, right?
I mean, if I had answers to other questions, like
you're not sure yet.
Zainab and Gail both perform well in the interview? Are they both equivalent writers? Do they both have great references? Were they both great in college? Do they both have great internship? There's a lot that goes into hiring. As a former recruiter, definitely. I'll just tell you, it's not just face value of things. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. But if you do a checklist and they literally were like equivalent candidates, close, and it just came down to Zainab being from Sudan, that's bull, and that's the reality for current people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think just from the information given, I would say I think it's unfair because I think that is being used as well. Look, why did they even ask for the birth country? Like that's to me is interesting. Well, why was that asked?
We'd have to talk to an HR professional to learn what is and what is not.
I don't know if you can, but we know that these interviewers definitely break rules all the time, though.
Are you interested in having a family? Like all sorts of
there's crazy stuff they say.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real, they're not gonna do the right thing. And if you don't, and then you're put on the spot. If you don't answer this question right here, this could be getting your job or not getting it. They could be like, "Oh, sorry, okay, we shouldn't have asked that. Know. We understand that," and then they don't call you back about the job, and you can't say for sure. Oh, was it because they asked that question that they weren't supposed to ask and I didn't answer it? You don't know that, but that just opens up a can of worms, really. Not answering the question, so. You're put in a tough spot here, but I think it definitely was unfair, and it seemed like they used that background against her, just from the information given, because they seemed like they were equal, actually.
Absolutely. Now, we are at that time again, the coming of the end of our 71st episode of WokeNFree. Terrible. This was quite the episode talking about whether fairness really exists, and that was an unfair harmony I'm saying woken free, Khalil, but we will continue. Will I leave you hanging for what our next episode will be about? Drum roll, please.
Don't be so unfair to your husband. That will be the next episode.
Does fairness exist in marriage? Really? Do you want to take it there? Oh my.
On our next episode, we will be talking about, are you actually living, or are you waiting to die? Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along in the conversation, and make sure you tune in next week for WokeNFree Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
If you want to be a guest on the show, please submit a topic for an upcoming episode to share how you feel. Hit us up on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That is WokenFree.com. We're very active on social media, so easily find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at WokenFree. Sponsorship alert. We're excited again to share that this month's episodes are being sponsored by Conversations with Verdell Jones. Conversations with Verdell Jones is dedicated to sharing conversations that inform and enlighten in the hopes that you learn something that you didn't know. The show is live on Thursdays, twice a month at 7 p.m. on Strong Island Television Facebook Live. Learn more about the show at VerdellJones.com. If you would like to be a sponsor for upcoming episodes, please contact us on our Contact Us page at WokenFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do share the episode and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for WokenFree Wednesdays. Remember, WokenFree is more than a podcast, it is a way of life. Until next time.